So this code gonna show you how to add in action listeners to JButtons. So JButton is the button that you create to use on the graphic user interface for Swing with Java. You need to create a new buttons. This named show dialog buttons, where instantiate that and put a text button. And then you need to add an action listener because we want the button to listen to an action. So we use the method .addActionListener. Now, when you add action listener, you need to do action performed, right? Which is you need to create a new instance of action listeners, which has the methods, which is action performed. Okay, so action listener is an interface, which is, let's look at in action listener. Okay, so this is the Java doc to show action listener and interface. That what's an interface again? An interface means the method inside this interface, which is action performed, that has not been implemented, right? So that means when you do create an instance of that interface, right, then you need to implement. Okay, so like that, new action listener, and then we have to implement public action performed. Now let's take a look at this part. Normally, you know that you can have an access to the method of JButtons by using .addActionListener, right? An action listener can be many forms, right? Like it can be listen to the button click. This is the one that we need to do. This interface, new action listener, right, for listen to the button click. Since this is only one form, that at this point I want to focus on just button click. So that's why I do not have to do implements at the beginning of my class. Like the button itself can have many forms that it can listen to, right? But I said I'm not going to worry about any other form. Another form could be on mouse hover and so on. Since I only want to do one form, then that's why I created one instance of that interface and put it just right inside that parenthesis of that parameter of the methods. Okay, so like for example, we were looking at the video here, right? Like there was a question about the flow layout here, right? Same, if I want to use it only once, I don't need to do like private flow layout new equals to new flow layout, right? So I can do only once inside like that. Which if you compare back to what we look at, same thing, that the part that I highlighted, and then you close parentheses and put semicolon at the end. Since you only do it once, so you just, okay, call the new action listener. And this is an interface. So an interface is a form of polymorphisms, which can be done the same way as the assignments about electronic equipment, right, as a class form, right? Phone, galaxies equals to new phone. Same, this is just like an interface of the form. Okay, you can have an interface, electronic equipment interface, phone, Samsung equals to new phone. The same thing. Okay, so now I create an interface, but the difference is, if you look back to the previous code, new flow layout is a class. Then you don't need to implement anything. That's why we close it right away. because the constructor of this has already implemented for you. But when you're dealing with interface, we need to implement it. That's why we open this interface, right? And do implementation, which is the method that is an abstract, and implement it inside. And then close that interface here. Close it right here. Open and close. Make sense? And then start to do the action perform that here. Okay. And now this is an action event as a parameter that passing in. Okay, that's an event that listen to the event that you click. At this point, we're not going to talk about this part yet. We only want to say when you click, it's going to jump into at action listener. Action listener, listen to action perform that. So this is for on click. This whole thing is for on click, right? And when you action perform that, we're pretty much going to create a new J dialog. So this is dialog box like the J option pane pop up, but we have J dialog too. New J dialog, and dialog is going to pop up on the top of the frame that you use, and this is going to say hello. Okay, and then now let's see what is this true. We can always check on Java doc again if we want to see the constructor, right? Whenever you see a new class and you want to know how to use that, we can just say J dialog Java doc to check the manuals and check the parameters of the constructors. We go down to constructor with 3 parameters. True, right? Modeled. Okay, so that means you want it to be model. You just set it to true. Modeled means when the dialog pop up, you cannot click anywhere else unless that dialog has closed. If it's not modeled, that means you can actually move it out and do something else, move it back. So that's how you set that model. Alright, so let's come back and see the code again. Now, when you click the button, it's going to have another dialog pop up, say hello as model. D.set location relative to frame. So this is pretty much the method of the dialog now. You can have an access to the location. Relative to frame, that means go set it to center. Okay, and set visible to true. Of course, by default, it's going to be false. You're not seeing it. Alright, so I'm going to perform something like this, okay, and show you from the scratch. We're going to create new Java project, name button demo. So let's say JButton demo. And new class, and this is going to be dialog. Let's say button dialog pop up. Just name something, okay? So let me include the main. The main or not, it doesn't matter. You can create a new class to have it in different. So first, let me show you how to create a frame without doing the extents, right? So I'm going to name a constructor. So create a constructor. Now we're going to create a frame, JFrame, right? A frame equals to new JFrame. Of course, you need to import. So we have JFrame. We need a button, JButton, because we want to show you how to add button to listen to the click event from the user. So we have button, import button to use. Now we need to put the buttons onto the frame, right? Now we also can do panel. Let me introduce you to JPanel. So if frame refer to whole window itself, panel just like that part, you can have this part as one panel, another part as panel. I can make a panel on the top of another, on the top of frame, right? So new JPanel. So it's good if you have many sections on your one GUI frame. You can have several panels. So of course we need to import JPanel. Alright, so button panel. So I'm going to add the button onto panel. Panel has the add, and I add the button onto panel. So now I put the button on the top of panel. Alright, so I can set the layout to panel. If I want to just do the same panel.set layout. If I want to do flow layout at this point, just say new flow layout and import flow layout. And then I need to put the panel onto frame, so I add frame with the panel. Alright, so of course frame needs to be visible, so set visible to true. And you may want to set the size, right? You can do the new dimension and put width and height. Let's say just 150 by 150. Okay, and we need to import, right? You need to set size. Okay. Okay. Alright, so now if I want to put a title for JFrame, I can just get to the constructor of JFrame and say hello. Alright, I'm going to put a dialog box, JDialog later, and frame dot I try to close on close operations. Set default close operations. So that's the name of the method, just to verify. Set default close operations, and then JFrame dot exit on close, right? Exit on close like that. So when you hit close, it's going to exit. That's what it means. I have the frame set up. So let's just run first to see if we can pop it up. Set visible, add the buttons. It's not pop up because I never call the instantiate, right? Inside main, right? So because that need to be do here. Alright, instantiate that. Like now I can just shorten it because I'm not going to use any instances at this point. Just call new. And the constructor name. Voila, we get the button, right? So let's set tag to the button, then it's going to be bigger. Click me. Now let's run this again. There you go. Now let's distinct the panel. Let's distinct it a little bit because we set the panel on top of the frame. We can actually set BG background color and do the color dot pink. And color is a class that we need to import. We can set the color. Then you see when I run, it's gonna have the pink right there. Right. Now this is pretty much the basic part to set up. So in the second part of this video, I'm going to show you, okay, how to add action listener to the buttons when I click like that, according to the code lecture that we just seen, right, on the previous one. Let me see. Let's go to here, right? So now we have the frame ready, button ready. So just go to the next video then.